Mr. President, His Excellency the Honorable Brian P. Kemp, Governor of the State of Georgia, and his committee of escorts await entrance to the chamber.
Mr. Doorkeeper, please let His Excellency Brian P. Kemp, Governor of the great state of Georgia, and his committee be admitted to the chamber. Thank you, Governor, for being here. Before we get started and hear from our governor, I'd like to recognize a few special guests. I've got my wonderful wife and First Lady of the Senate, Jan Jones, there in the balcony right there. So. I'd like to recognize the Speaker of this House, brand new Speaker, Mr. John Burns here too, right here. And his lovely wife, the First Lady of the House here, Miss Dale Burns. Please raise her recognize. and the longtime Speaker Pro Tem here in this chamber, a name I will never forget, Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones. The President Pro Tem and my good friend from the Senate, Senator John Kennedy. And someone who needs no introduction, our First Lady, what a wonderful First Lady she has been, Miss Marty Kemp, is right here. And also, we're joined by Governor Kemp's three beautiful daughters here and there in the balcony with their mother, Miss Marty, Miss Amy Porter, Jared, and Lucy Kemp as well. I told the Speaker I would be brief right here, and he was appreciative of that. So, but I do want to say it is a pleasure, it's an honor to be in this chamber beside Speaker Burns and introducing our governor of the state of Georgia, Brian P. Kemp, and also in his second term. It's been a wonderful first 4 years, and I look forward to the next 4 years as the governor serves this state with his steady hand at the helm and his fiscal conservative policies. This state has absolutely reaped the rewards of a $6 billion surplus and a state that is being envied by the entire country. And I'm so appreciative of the work that the governor has done, as well as with the help of the General Assembly here in the state of Georgia, because without you in this room, it would make his job impossible. So thank you. Everyone should give themselves a round of applause on that one. He has kept his focus, laser focus on business development, economic prosperity, child care, health care, and public safety. And I think those are things that he's going to champion in the next 4 years. I look forward to serving alongside you, Governor, and in the next 4 years. And I look alongside serving with you, Speaker Burns, as well. I'd like to congratulate the newly elected officials here in this room today. You have been entrusted with this position by your constituency, and you should value that trust and hold it sacredly. I will tell you, we had the pastor of the day this morning, and he said that he tells his people in his church that you shouldn't think that you shouldn't think that you're appreciated by the church. You should appreciate the church for being there. And I think as elected officials, we need to be reminded of that sometimes, that they shouldn't appreciate us being here. We should appreciate the state of Georgia allowing us to be here. And I think that we have a very great opportunity here in the next 4 years to take this state to leaps and bounds from an economic standpoint, from a healthcare standpoint, to an educational standpoint that we might not have thought a couple of decades ago we would be. And we couldn't do it without the leadership of our governor. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome our governor of the great state of Georgia, Brian P. Kemp.
Thank you all very much. Thank y'all so much. Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, President Pro Tem Kennedy, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, my fellow constitutional officers, Mayor Dickens, members of the Judiciary, members of the Consular Corps, and my fellow Georgians. When I delivered my first State of the State address in this chamber 4 years ago, little did we know the unprecedented challenges that were before us. Now on the other side of my first term, we have overcome each of those challenges, and we did it together, and we have risen to the occasion each time that change has come. Speaking of change, each chamber has new leadership than when I first began my term. And I want to congratulate Lieutenant Governor Jones and Speaker John Burns on their elections. I also want to congratulate the newly elected leaders and appointed committee chairs in both the Senate and House. I also want to congratulate again my fellow constitutional officers on their recent victories. Over the last 4 years, our greatest achievements were accomplished when both chambers worked hand in hand with my office to put the people of our state first ahead of the status quo. Our future as a state relies on that partnership to do the right thing for our citizens, even when it may not be easy. Each of you has my commitment to continue that work and do it together. That's good for our entire state, because I believe this session will be one of consequence. I'm proud to report that because of the foundation that we have built together over these past 4 years, because of the resilience shown by the people of our great state, because of the resolve they continue to show, the state of our state has never been stronger or more resilient. Thank you all. Thank you, and you all were a big part of that. This session, we will not only build on the monumental achievements of the past 4 years, we will set Georgia on a path of greatness for generations to come. This past year in particular was unprecedented for economic success in the Peach State. In less than 365 days, we announced 4 of the largest economic development projects in the history of our state. Those 4 projects alone will bring over 20,000 new jobs and over $17 billion in investment to rural communities across Georgia. Those good-paying jobs are in fields that will define the next generation of manufacturing. And that future will be made right here in Georgia. But we are not slowing down. Just last week, we learned that in the first half of this fiscal year, our top-ranked Department of Economic Development helped announce 17,500 new jobs and more than $13 billion of investment coming to Georgia. And I am especially proud that once again, 85% of those jobs are coming to areas outside Metro Atlanta. And the good And the good news is our metro areas continue to thrive in this environment as well, with organic growth generated by good policies and a pro-business approach that we have all worked on with our partners in the private sector to create. I want to thank the hardworking men and women of the Georgia Department of Economic Development who helped us bring these unparalleled levels of opportunities to communities all across our state. One member of that team is here with us today, Kemp. Uni serves as the Director of Korean Investment, and she's been instrumental in bringing literally billions of dollars of investment and thousands of jobs to Georgia communities. Uni, would you please stand and let us thank you for all your good work. I also want to thank the members of the General Assembly for your contributions to this effort. I cannot overstate how critical your support is when it comes to winning in these competitive environments, while also providing a good return on investment that we will literally see for decades in this state. Thanks to the collective work of those in this chamber, those who came before us, and the local leadership across Georgia, we have been named the #1 state in the country for business for 9 years in a row. Thank you all. But despite all we have achieved, there's a growing risk to that #1 status, the need for more workers, and quality homes where they can raise a family in the same community where they work. This year, the budgets I presented to you make significant steps in addressing both issues. We are putting precious state dollars where our priorities are, including every level of education to grow a generation of highly skilled workers. In fact, between both budgets, we will devote an additional $1.9 billion to education and fully fund the QBE formula. We are expanding and reinforcing the workforce pipeline at every level, including where it begins in our K-12 classrooms. Hard-working teachers are the most impactful elements of the pipeline. We're fortunate to have one of them here with us today. She's a first-grade teacher from Hayhauer Elementary School in Lowndes County. During the pandemic, like so many others who served our classrooms, she went above and beyond for her students. Lauren Blair, will you please stand and let us thank you and your colleagues for all your great work. Lauren is now in her 5th year of teaching, a milestone when educators often feel burnout and consider leaving the profession. To keep our best and brightest in the classroom, when I first ran for governor, I promised to raise teacher pay by $5,000. With your help, we fully delivered on that pledge. To reward those who continue to serve after the hardships of the pandemic, my FY 2024 budget proposes yet another $2,000 pay raise for teachers like Lauren. While some politicians have continued to grumble about teacher pay in Georgia, I would like to share the facts. In total, we will have given hard-working educators a $7,000 pay raise in just 5 years. No other General Assembly or governor will have raised teacher pay by so much, so quickly in state history. And I want to thank you all for your support of that. With the passage of this budget, the average teacher salary in Georgia will also now be over $7,000 higher than the Southeast regional average. But we know that teachers don't just need more pay and resources, they also need reinforcements. That's why I'm furthering the teacher workforce pipeline measures we put into place during my first term. Through the certification grants that will help paraprofessionals become teachers. With this one investment, we will add close to 5,000 new teachers to our education workforce. But we also know the workforce pipeline extends into our world-class universities and technical colleges. That is why, for the first time in over a decade, and in the 30th year of this program in the Georgia Lottery, we are once again fulfilling Governor Zell Miller's vision, and returning the Hope Scholarship and Grants Awards to 100% of tuition. Today we're joined by one of the students and future workers who has benefited from Governor Miller's legacy and the support of this General Assembly. Obai Somayo is a Hope Scholarship student at our national championship winning University of Georgia. Go Dogs. He is a first-generation college student and the oldest of 5 children. His father is a retired Navy veteran and pastor. His mother is also currently in school working to become a doctor. By covering 100% of tuition, a policy long worked on by members of both sides of the aisle, a student like Obai will receive roughly $1,000 in additional financial assistance in the coming school year. Obai, will you raise and let us wish you continued success? Thank you for being with us today. We look forward to your continued success and your bright future, and I feel certain that you will work here in our state after you graduate. We will also continue to focus on apprenticeships, dual enrollment pathways, and degrees aligned with the needs of job creators to grow our talent pipeline. But where will students like Obai and those who Lauren teaches live when they get into the workforce? Because of our efforts, there is greater opportunity in literally every zip code in Georgia. But many of those communities struggle to provide adequate workforce housing. But transformational projects, good paying jobs, and new investments are worth little if there aren't options for hard-working Georgians to live where they work. We're talking about the people who are teaching our children, keeping our community safe, who provide life-saving support in times of trouble, and those who make the goods and provide the services that make a community such a great place to call home. That's why I'm creating the Rural Workforce Housing Fund, enabling the state to partner directly with local governments to develop sites across the state for workforce housing. I'm also eager to see solutions that will come from others over the next few months regarding this issue. As hardworking Georgians find opportunity in the quality housing that comes with it, they also deserve to live, work, and worship in safety. This is something everyone in this chamber can agree on, and no issue of public safety has received more bipartisan support than the legislation championed by the nation's best First Lady, Marty Kemp, and our 3 daughters. Working alongside partners on the Grace Commission like Speaker Pro Tem Jones, Attorney General Chris Carr, the GBI, and others, they have helped make Georgia a hostile place for traffickers and a safe haven for victims. Marty and her partners have worked tirelessly to make Georgians throughout the state aware of this evil industry. Thanks to that good work, lives have been saved, children have been removed from dangerous situations, and offenders have been put behind bars where they can no longer make victims of the innocent. I'd like to ask Marty, our girls, and the others representing the Grace Commission to stand so we can thank you for your good work. This year, we will build on their good work by increasing penalties for those organizations required to provide resources on how to spot human trafficking and what actions are needed to stop it, but who unfortunately fail to do so. Like Marty's prior legislation, I'm sure it will receive overwhelming bipartisan support. And I also want to thank the General Assembly, again, for your support of the receiving centers where victims are now finding help and hope. This is certainly a resource that is and is still in critical need. We will also continue to take violent offenders out of our communities. For far too many Georgians, the safety of their families and homes is put at risk by the unchecked crimes of street gangs. Early in my first term, we created the GBI's Anti-Gang Task Force to take the fight to these criminals. Last year, you gave the state a new tool to ensure justice, the Gang Prosecution Unit in the Office of Attorney General Chris Carr. I'm grateful that the Attorney General and his team have already indicted over 50 gang members in just the first 6 months of standing up this unit. And they have more on the way. Where local district attorneys are unwilling to confront these violent offenders, the Gang Prosecution Unit will. Today, the Attorney General is joined by the head of his prosecution division, John Fowler, the head of the Gang Prosecution Unit, Kara Convery, and the head of the Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit, Hannah Palmquist. I hope you all would stand and let us thank you again for your great work. We have made great strides in curbing crime, but now this fight is entering a new phase, and law enforcement needs your help to continue to achieve success. In communities across our state, gangs are actively recruiting children as young as elementary school students into a life of crime. They are targeting the most innocent among us, pulling them down a dark path that often leads to a prison cell or a cemetery. That is why, along with the Attorney General, I'm proposing legislation to increase penalties for those trying to recruit our children into a gang. Let me be clear, you come after our children, we will be coming after you. I know Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and his team are also actively working on the broader issue of gang violence, and we look forward to partnering with them on these efforts. My administration is thankful to the dedication to this urgent problem. I also know there's strong bipartisan support for our state law enforcement, including the brave men and women of the Georgia State Patrol under the leadership of Colonel Chris Wright. Just last week, we were reminded yet again of their steadfast courage and the dangers that they face on a daily basis. While helping clear the site of the future Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility of militant activists, a trooper was shot without warning or just cause. He was rushed to the hospital, endured multiple surgeries, and days of severe pain, which he is still in. But like all troopers, he has refused to quit. Just a few blocks from where we are sitting today, he still continues his recovery. He and his wife have both our thanks and our praise, but also our prayers. I had the chance to meet with them earlier this week, and his resolve continues to be strong, but he continues to need our prayers. Just this past weekend, when out-of-state rioters tried to bring violence to the streets of our capital city. State Patrol, sheriff's deputies, and Atlanta police quickly brought peace and order. That's just the latest example why here in Georgia, we will always back the blue. This morning, we're joined by another trooper, one who serves from the skies. Last year, helicopter pilot Sergeant Brad Harrison, along with the tactical flight officer and a spotter, received a call to assist with a search and rescue operation in Chattooga County in northwest Georgia. A little boy no more than 5 years old was lost, and like all of us would be, his family was frantic. Thanks to the skill and quick work of Sergeant Harrison and his crew, they were able to locate the boy in a field, guide troopers to his location while circling above, and ensure that the child was safely returned to his parents. Sergeant Harrison, would you please stand and let us thank you for your good work and those of all our Georgia State law enforcement. These and other public safety officers on both the state and local levels are our unsung heroes we don't always hear about, because their acts of service are given without expectation or reservation. In light of this past weekend's events, when men and women in uniform are putting themselves in harm's way and literally in the line of fire, you can imagine their frustration when one of these criminals ends right back out on the street in a matter of hours, just to terrorize those streets further. I appreciate that a Fulton County judge denied bond to 4 of the 6 rioters arrested last Saturday and gave the other 2 bonds of over $355,000, along with the 24-hour curfew and ankle monitors. Unfortunately, this approach is not universal across the judicial system. While some may not take this issue seriously, I can assure you that I do. We can and we must do something about the revolving door of criminal justice, and I look forward to working with this legislature to get it done. But in addition to our public safety officers, we're also grateful for our healthcare heroes. And simply put, we need more of them. Right now, there are 67 counties with less than 10 physicians, and Georgia's need for more nurses is well documented. That's why I'm proposing over $4.5 million in loan repayment programs to grow the number of healthcare workers in Georgia. I'm also calling for an additional 102 residency slots through an investment of $1.7 million. With these additions, we will exceed the initial goal number of this program. And I'm proud to report that the innovative solutions we've brought to Georgia's healthcare challenges continues to bring great results. When I first signed the Bipartisan Patients First Act in 2019, no counties had more than 2 health insurance carriers. Today, 86% of Georgia counties have 3 or more. And while others have called for expanding a one-size-fits-none massive government health care program, thanks to our policies, enrollment in the individual markets has more than doubled since 2019 to over 700,000 Georgians. Thanks to our reinsurance program, we're also saving hardworking families more and more in their wallets. In fact, we've reduced premiums by an average of 12.4% across the state. That represents an average annual premium reduction of almost $1,000 a year. In rural communities, where premium prices were the least affordable when I took office, the reinsurance program has reduced premiums from 25 to 40%. In addition to these innovations, and with your help, we expanded Medicaid coverage to a full year after a mother gives birth. To support new mothers even more, my team is proposing legislation that will allow pregnant women who qualify to receive TANF benefits. Previously, they were unable to apply for such assistance until after a child was born. I know that this measure is supported by many in this chamber, and I am grateful for your backing. Since 2018, our state has spent over $15.3 billion on Medicaid, with a 9% increase in spending over that time. But while the state spends more and more, Georgians aren't seeing improvement in the care they receive. Here in Georgia, we're talking about an innovative and sustainable approach. The Georgia Pathways to Coverage program was negotiated in good faith with the federal government so that we could expand access to health insurance for those who need it the most, while also sustaining the quality of coverage. But it was the Biden administration that delayed its launch for over a year, until thankfully a judge threw out their biased objections to this innovative approach. Those are the facts. When it comes to health care for hardworking Georgians, the Biden administration would rather play partisan politics than get people insured and lowered cost. Folks, we don't have time to wait on Washington, and I don't have much patience for D.C. posturing. We are moving forward, and we're on target for a launch date of July 1st of this year. To meet that goal, I'm allocating $52 million to stand up this program and connect those in need to its benefit. Here's another fact. Upwards of 345,000 Georgians could qualify for the Pathways program and health care coverage for the first time, with no changes to those who qualify for regular Medicaid. And unlike Medicaid expansion, Georgia Pathways will not kick 200,000 Georgians off their private sector insurance. In our state, we want more people to be covered at a lower cost with more options for patients. And I'm proud to say that both Georgia Pathways and Access accomplished that goal. During this legislative session, I want to encourage the men and women throughout this chamber to consider not just the Georgia of today, but the Georgia of generations from now. You know, speaking of generations, I got to be careful about how I say this, but I also just wanted to recognize my mom, Ann Cavness, who's here today. Mom, we love you. She's joined by my sister, Julie Reef, and her husband, Rocky, so we're glad to have y'all today. Love you guys. 3 years ago, at my State of the State, just before the pandemic hit, I shared the words of Nehemiah, who refused to slow down or stop his efforts to rebuild his hometown despite heavy pressure to do so. He always delivered the same message: I'm doing a great work, and I can't come down. Throughout the pandemic and afterward, we have been reminded that our work continues. And during this session, we should all be too busy to come down into the mud of politics. We have much work to do, and we need to get it done for the people who are counting on us. Here at the start of a new session, a new term, and a new era for our state. We have an opportunity to make decisions that will impact our children's grandchildren if we do it right and if we do it together. You know, the campaigns have all been run, or at least most of them, and the people have spoken. They have given us our marching orders, and it's time for us to get back to work. So for the Georgians of today and tomorrow, let's get it done. Thank you all. God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Georgia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Very well done, and thank you, members of the General Assembly. Mr. Doorkeeper, will you please escort the Governor and his distinguished guests from the chamber at this time? I now recognize the pro tem from the Senate for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that this joint session be dissolved.
Pro tem has moved that this session be dissolved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes clearly have it. This is dissolved.